One thing I'm going to highlight today is this excavator to quick attach adapter from Caterpillar. I got this with the 306 because I really wanted this machine to do everything my skid steer could do, or at least use the attachments. Today, what I really want to do is use this Wallenstein on the front of the Caterpillars to see if I can use this thing. It's going to be kind of weird because of how this thing's shaped and designed. It might be a little too long. So I'm going to try it on the arm first and see if that will work well. If it doesn't work well, I'm going to put it in the XTC location where the 4-in-1 bucket is currently. Okay, so one challenge I had with that I had to solve before I could do this, and I'm going to test this out today, but with these multi-function attachments like the Wallenstein and like this 6-way blade, they usually come with these control boxes that you put in your cab. They have these like Dutes connectors on them. They look kind of like this, like 4-way pins. And you take the one from the attachment and you snake it up to the cab, and you usually have to drill a hole through your cab or put it in through a window or something, and then you connect it to this box here. And then from inside the cab, you're able to change all of the different functions. In the excavator, I can't do that. If I have it on the end of the arm, I could theoretically run a wire all the way to the cab. That would work, but it'd have to be a long wire, so I didn't want to bother with that. The main reason I made it was because with this XTC thing, it sits on the tracks down below. The top of the cab and everything spins around, and so those wires would just get all tangled up and would break, so it wouldn't work. So what I had to do was make a control box that was wireless. I used an Arduino. I put a DeWalt battery adapter on it. It's got magnets on it. I can put it pretty much anywhere there's a good location. Probably on this Wallenstein, there's a nice location right here. So I can just kind of stick it on the side there, and that way it's visible. And there's a lip here, so I think that'll keep it from sliding on or off. And then I have this little pigtail coming out of the box, and all I got to do is take this wire that would normally plug into the control box and plug this in right here. Then I use my phone, and I'll show you that more when I'm in the cab. Pull this off. It's pretty easy. It's just like a skid steer. I will say this thing is much better quality than that Titan thing I had for the back of my tractor. This 3-point adapter wasn't working well at all because the pins are too short on it. This thing works great. We'll see how it does with the Wallenstein. Just gotta make sure these are all pulled up as far as they'll go. Controls are slightly reversed. You curl in with the stick like this when you're scooping. When it's skid steer, you do that, it tips forward. So it's the opposite. I'll have to curl my bucket in to drop this thing. And I'm doing this with one hand because I'm holding the camera too. All right, so it's that easy. And there you go. What we'll do now, I'll go in and I'll grab the Wallenstein, and then I'll show how this thing works. So the good news is that when this thing's fully curled up, I was a little worried about this, but with the cylinder fully retracted, it looks like barely clearance. So it might, I'm trying to see if in there's a little metal thing in the middle of all those hoses that might be bumping that cylinder. I feel like it's locked. So it looks like we got clearance. I'm not going to smash on the stick there. I'm going to back up here because it kind of looks a little silly like this. It's like two excavator arms nested. One advantage I think I'll have with this is that I'll have a monster amount of reach, but the disadvantage is the weight capacity. I think this thing can do about 4,000 pounds of full extension. That Wallenstein attachment weighs about 1,500 pounds. So that means I can have a log on there 2,500 pounds maximum at full extension. That will go down even more if the pusher bar gets extended out. I have to be really careful with this, and I think I'm just going to play around with it gently until I get the hang of everything. There's a real risk of messing something up here. The way this works, you just plug in the hydraulics from the attachment here into aux 1, and then you turn the bucket off. The thumb off. That way the thumb just stays up and out of the way, and all of my functions all will be controlled with my cell phone and this box here. So I've got it shut off right now. I moved it to this spot because I think this will be the most protected, because then on this side I have metal thing and I can see it easily from the cab there. So I'm going to try to get this thing set up here. I got to shut the excavator off. That's one thing with this 306 I've noticed, is when you're changing attachments, to depressurize everything, you got to shut the thing down and then wiggle the joysticks with the hydraulics engaged and let all the pressure out before you can plug things into this. So I'm going to do that now. I'll get this set up. I'm a little nervous about this because I've never done this before. So this will be the first time this is actually working. I'm going to give myself a little room. I might pull forward just a bit. The way this works is pretty slick. So I made a little Android app, and what this is going to do is, this is called Wally Remote. I'm going to pick my Bluetooth device. Hopefully I see it down there, and down here at the bottom I have my Wally Remote. So now I'm connected, and right now it defaults to the grapple. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna give it a little bit more revs here. So if I use my thumb switch here, which normally controls the thumb on the excavator, I get my grapple by default, and it's opening and closing now. Okay, so now let's try the rotate. I think that'll be the best one. So I just push rotate, and let's see, cross our fingers. Something's not working. Oh, I'm getting a hydraulic leak out there too. Better go fix that. Oh, I had to make a few modifications. One, my coupler here was leaking pretty bad, so I had to switch that one out and put a new one on. I was noticing this was clicking and working, the relays were working, but the solenoids weren't working on this Wallenstein attachment, nor were they working when I tried over here on this 6-way blade with that solenoid there. And so I figured I was probably not getting enough power to the solenoid, and what I did was I had to take out the DC to DC buck regulator. So what it does is it takes this like 20 volt battery and steps it down to 12 volt. That's what the solenoids are rated at. I was using a little Arduino buck to buck converter. Here's what they look like. These are pretty common. They're the LM2596s. The problem with these guys, they don't put a lot of amps through. I switched over from this to one of these like golf cart step down. It goes from 24 volts to 12, and it's much bigger. You got a big heat sink and everything. It's rated at 30 amps output. We're gonna try that out and see if that makes a difference. One other thing that was happening too was when I was leaving the relay on, I was having some power issues with my Bluetooth connection from my phone. It kept disappearing, and what was happening in my circuit, because there wasn't enough power getting in to feed everything, every time you try to do that solenoid, it would drop the power down and my Bluetooth dongle thing would shut off and restart, and then I would say broken pipe on my cell phone app. So I got all that fixed. Let's give it a whirl here. Okay, we're gonna give this a whirl. I'm gonna lift up here. It's a little cold outside, so I'm just gonna go kind of slow, let this warm up. See it, the grapple is working. I'll give it a little bit more res here. So the main one that I really wanted to work was the rotation. So let's try that one. Okay, so you just press on it and it goes there. And so then if we come over here, now the rotation's working. Awesome. And my push bar, I would assume, works fine. I heard something clunk, so yeah, it's working. And then the winch next, and there we go. Awesome. Leaving this thing on, I'll see if I have any Bluetooth issues. I don't think I will. I put some capacitors in my circuit to store some energy and smooth out the power to my Arduino and to the Bluetooth. Now let's just do a test here, see how well I can control this thing. I'm gonna get a better camera angle because this thing's really big and it's gonna be really tall. So I'm gonna see kind of the range and the reach of this thing because it's probably gonna be ridiculous. So I had to pull outside here. Okay, so one issue I'm already seeing or feeling, if it's not on full revs, this cylinder here is designed more for pushing to scoop and dig and have digging force. It's not very powerful tipping like this. So when that thing goes all the way down, you tip it all the way forward, it doesn't have a whole lot of power to get it this big attachment along with whatever it's holding on to tip back. So I think I'm gonna have to kind of keep the bucket always tipped backwards. I was coming down here to get this winch thing off of the push bar so that I can show sort of the range of this push bar, and with it all the way extended, I was gonna see how well this thing lifts logs. I'm gonna go play around over there in that log pile for a second just to see how this works. It's pretty cool. I'm a little nervous. It's like a huge attachment and it makes this arm a good 7-8 feet longer reach. Push bar goes out, it adds another 2 feet of reach. So whatever I'm grabbing has to be light because I think my capacity is 4,000 pounds, right about there. Adding all this extra foot, maybe adding 10 feet total, it's probably going to drop my capacity down to about 1,000. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, this is so far it's working. And one thing I really like about it, when I had this attachment on my skid steer, this wire, this cable that plugged into that switchboard that went into the cab always was getting tangled, and whenever you would tip the attachment all the way down like that, it would tighten, and I even had it rip the wires and break the wires at one point. So I always had to be really careful of that. With this box, I don't have to worry about that anymore. So really the main issue is this hydraulic cable right here, making sure that that has enough slack to go all the way down. So that's something I got to pay attention to. Looks like it should, at this point, it should check it with it all the way down. Okay, let's see how well this thing handles these bigger logs. Sorry, it's really cold out here. I'm just gonna try like one or two of these things, grab them off my log pile and see if I can steer them. I'll do one. These are pine. They're not as heavy as oak and things like that, but I'll try this big white pine here first to kind of get an idea of capacity. We'll see how well this thing does. I'm gonna take it easy and keep it kind of close. Okay, so I think it might work. It's very tight right here, and there's a lot of snow and ice, so I'm sliding. I can't get over to where I want. So what I'm planning to do is take those blocks and move them out of the way, like move my wall either closer to the mill or closer to the machine shed. I'm not real sure yet. Or I can drive up, and I kind of take my boom and offset it to the side and pull the log like maybe alongside me up to the mill. I'm thinking that this probably isn't going to be the best spot for my log bunk, so once I get through this, I think I'll probably move it on the other side because there's a lot more room to work over there. But I think it was somewhat successful. It's working. And if you want to know how I made that remote controller for this thing, leave a comment below. If I get enough interest, I'll post a video on it. Hey DJ, how you doing? All right, we're gonna try to lift another bale here. See if this thing can grab a bale. So all in all, I think that was a pretty successful test. It's gonna take some time to get used to this thing in this configuration, and I know this isn't necessarily meant for it. Ideally, you have a grapple that's just hooked onto the end. The nice thing that this offers though is it allows you to skid and have this like prop here so you can hook a log under one side. You get a little bit more reach, actually a lot of bit more reach with this skid steer attachment on here rather than just a straight grapple on the end of the arm here. And I get the winch as well and extra extension with that push bar. We'll see. It's definitely a challenge when it comes to like monitoring your corners and how far this thing sticks out, because when you're in the cab, you have a little bit hard time seeing how far out this sticks. So when you're rotating, you got to be careful that you're not smashing into anything with it. It looked to me that it worked really well. What's nice about these DeWalt batteries, they have these the battery monitor on them already, so I didn't have to build that into the circuit. They're much lighter than a lead acid 12 volt. That would have probably been the easiest thing, just put a 12 volt, but then mounting it on here, this is all done with magnets. So it can just come pull right on and off, and I can take this home. I can even pull this battery out, recharge it when I need to. But I wanted this to be light enough that it could be held on by magnets because I wasn't sure exactly what position you'd want. And I can use this box on any of the attachments I have that have those solenoids. So on this attachment over here, you can imagine it's probably going to sit in a different spot, maybe up here or somewhere around in here behind the solenoid or something like that. So yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm gonna try this attachment, I think, maybe on the front of this too, see how that goes. I might try the Wallenstein on the front arm where it is currently, and then also doing the 6-way blade on the front, because then I can, with logging trails and stuff like that, you can go grab logs, kind of shape your trail as you're going to get things out of the way. I don't know how that thing would do on the front up here because it's just so tall, and I'm just afraid that I will end up damaging the excavator or the Wallenstein attachment, and I clearly don't want to do that for either of these. I think it was a successful test, and I'm glad I tried it out. And now I think I have a grapple I can use once I get it all figured out. Thanks for watching.